Now, surviving as an artist is not easy. Recent research found that here in the UK, artists working in the public sector are struggling to stay afloat, earning a median rate of just £2.60 or $3.22 per hour. The report by the grassroots advocacy group Industria also exposed a culture of unpaid labour and systematic exploitation. Well, the MTArt agency aims to support and enable those working in public art as well as fine art institutions. Founded in 2015, it's the world's first agency for visual artists worldwide. It's brought the principles of a talent agency to the art world, promoting artists outside the traditional gallery model. Well, with me now is Tanguy, founder and chief executive of the MTArt agency, and Rayvenn Clark, an artist who is represented by the agency. Rayvenn, thank you both for joining us here on the programme. I mean, this is very much your vision. It's your baby, really trying to get artists who would otherwise not have the kind of opportunities that you would normally see at large art organisations, agencies, institutions. You have helped them realise their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that we live in the visual world. So by the time I finish the sentence, 1.2 million images will have been uploaded online. In total, per day, that's 1.8 billion. And yet so few of this are artists. Like, you will be bombarded by adverts, you'll be bombarded by political messaging. So when we find a talent agency, we not only wanted to back the most forward-thinking artists, but we also wanted them to use that broad canvas that is our visual world and inspire us through public arts, through brand collaboration, through digital and fine art institutions. And of course, you mentioned it, I mean, that figure is shocking. And sadly also, what's even more shocking is it's not getting any better. And for us, it was important that in a sector where 90% of people come from privileged background, that we could change that. We could offer more revenue streams to the artists, larger audiences, more opportunities. And it's a dream to be next to Rayvenn, because she's been an incredible example of that over the past few years.
Yeah, Rayvenn, just tell us a little bit about the work that you've done.
So I'm a digital sculptor and I'm born and based in London. And so a lot of it revolves around like 3D techniques, so 3D scanning, 3D printing. They amount to essentially sculptures. We're moving into the public realm since I've joined the agency, but more so it was actually quite a homegrown practice of using like different materials, silicone, to build portraits of people that I knew around me.
Yeah, we're just looking at some of your work now. Just tell us about this.
Yeah, so I mean, it was definitely reflections on people that I went to university with, thinking about their aura and actually what they've contributed to my lives personally, and a kind of mediation of those two kind of handmade processes with the kind of 3D technology. So it's a difficult practice in that it leads to a huge economic kind of underpinning in order to get it done. But I've been lucky enough to obviously be with the agency and also just learn a few techniques that have kind of brought me where I am right now.
I mean, you know, sculpting, this is not cheap business either, is it?
No, very expensive. I mean, there are different ways that you do it, but especially when you're getting into the public realm and you're doing things big that need to be kind of waterproofs and all that different things, thousands, and that's very hard to generate when you're a student in university or just coming out in particular.
Yeah, I mean, and we've just talked about how much artists are earning, and they're forced really to take on multiple jobs, aren't they?
And I think on her point, 97% of the public sculptures you will see on our streets in the cities will be made by white men. So if you think of the impact of you launching public art, I think that changes everything, because you're talking about the narrative that we share, which is ultimately the cities we live in. We live and work there, and we're taking in those visual stories, and yet they're only told by a few people. And once again, I think that's incredible that you can widen who gets to tell the stories, and I think you're a perfect example of that as well.
But Maureen, you fundamentally changed that here in London, because you used things like lockdown and COVID as a way to, really sell your artists to the City of London.
I mean, it's hard for a founder to say that. I think I'm passionate about visual storytelling. I want the many visuals like I mentioned earlier that we consume every day to be, of as many visual voices as possible, and the most inspiring one. And I just felt like it was too few people were getting to tell their stories. I felt that I was hearing too many artists that were saying they can't afford to be artists. And so instead we had a sector that was not repping the best talents, but the ones who could afford it. So for us, as a talent agency, not only because we're a B Corp, so the way that we pay them fairly is really important, but also to contribute to their studio costs every month was a way to say finance will not get in the way of you doing incredibly well, because right now finance is getting in the way, and that's why money is important to discuss.
And then how does, your public art change perceptions?
Well, I work quite theoretically, but actually what we're doing is we're really connecting with people, individuals, communities, kind of the hidden stories, I like to think, of those around me personally, but larger narratives, in order to just really bring those into focus. I think when we were doing research for our latest US project, we found that there are more sculptures of individuals named John than there are of black women, and at least of all named black women. So we're really trying to shift the narrative in terms of who we show, and as well as kind of how we show them. And I think to have that done from an authentic perspective is really important.
And I suppose for people to say, well, this person looks like me, represents me, has a similar story to me.
Yeah, like
it's
Maria's
more sort of a diverse.
Yeah, like Maria's saying, in a visual culture where kind of information is accessible and you very quickly pick up visual cues, it's really important that things like sculpture and objects that exist in the kind of public realm really represent kind of the spaces that are happening, let's say on Instagram or TikTok, where you can quite organically generate that. So it's been really important to work with the agency to do this.
And Marine, are you seeing a change in perceptions? Is the art helping?
I think I'm seeing a change in access to the sector. I'm seeing a change positively in the sector being democratized. I think for all its flaws, social media is helping this. One of our artists, Derek, comes from Ghana. Without Instagram, we could never have talked to him. So I feel like the access to the sector is much easier than it used to be. You don't have to be in a big city. You don't have to know a gallery owner. I think there's an awareness as well. In the same way that you now sense people being aware of noise pollution, I think visual pollution is people are getting aware of the fact that actually I am consuming all those visuals. I must pay attention. I must try and endorse people who represent me, people who visually are going to endorse values that I care about. I mean, we mentioned, like earlier, Grace Forrest mentioned the topic of slavery, and that's her next 3 sculptures. And I think topics like this needs to be in the public realm because we need to address them. If we keep on not having it in the public realm, that's content that we'll never go engaged with.
I've got about a minute left, but is the art world accepting this? Because as you say, there's certain perceptions, there's certain people who have a monopoly over the industry.
I think the art world is a very conservative sector. Realistically, it's made of many different people. I think my generation is definitely leading that change, and I think is now being more and more embraced. I can't say as a disruptor it's always easy to challenge the way things are, but I think that's something that we're really passionate about. And the reason why we do it is, again, to see the artists winning, to see people on the street texting us saying, I was waiting for my bus, so this, and that was amazing. So that's much more our goals.
Marine, Rayvenn, thank you both for joining us here on the programme. And you can check out Marine's Instagram page. She's got extraordinary art, as well as Rayvenn's as well. We'll be back in the next few minutes, so don't go anywhere. You can also catch up on all of the stories we've covered here on our website, the usual place, bbc.co.uk. See you soon.